Good morning here and welcome to Trading Within the Box on April 12th here, 2025 here at 11:20 a.m. And we're going to be going over the week review in the stocks. But first of all, this is not a recommendation to buy, hold, or a solicitation to buy, hold, or sell any stocks. This is a educational video only. If you'd like to purchase stocks, please contact a licensed professional or the brokerage house of your choice, and they will help you there. Let's get going here. So now, let's go to the S&P 500. Now, I want to show you something here on the S&P 500 where we came down from. Okay, so we slammed down from into this area right here and at the support line at 487.92. Okay, so we dropped a little lower into the 482 range. And then we had a little good news after the tariffs and all the big noise and everything. And now we have a cluster here. Okay, so look at this cluster right here, okay? So we do have this situation going on. I want to show you something. Then we'll go over, we have a lot to go over here. So look at this situation. We have a squeeze play here, okay? So this is a squeeze play right here, sort of a sideways pennant formation. And we're either going to squeeze up into this resistance line with a 50-day moving average here, and then fail and then pull back and hopefully hold. Now, here's the story here. If we go into this spot right here, right in this area right here, and we fail, we could go this way and maybe go sideways for a little bit. Now, the other scenario is if we're in this spot right here and we got the squeeze play like we were just showing in this spot right here, and we squeeze down, we get some bad news and we could retest this bottom again here. Okay, look at the volume in this area, though, compared to other times of buying. That's normal volume right in this spot right here. And then look at this monster here. So you did have a lot of covering, a lot of short covering there. And then at the same time, we're going to look at the retest here. Now we have a sloppy W here, but is this going to be this? Is this an M formation here? And then we come back down again. So remember 2022, and I want to go back to that one and show you really quick. Remember we had the correction, we had a small correction here, and when that was in right here in August of 2023, and that ended in October of 2023, but we had that correction. Now, this reminds you more of the 2022 correction. So that started in January of 2022 when it started to fall. Then we had a bounce in end of January. Then we had another bounce at the end of February. Then we had another bounce in the middle of May-ish. And then we had in the middle of June, it kind of almost ended. We had a big surge of covering, and then we came back down and we retested at a lower spot in the middle of October of 2022. So when you look at the 2022 crash or correction or whatever you want to call it, how we started here, we had 1, 2, we had 3, 4, and then we had the 5th peak, and then we came back up. Okay, so remember, we could still be going into these peaks of downdrafting here. Okay, so let's see where we're at here. So when we look at the S&P 500, look how we have one peak. Okay, that's one right there. Okay, now this is the second peak. Now are we going to come back down and keep retesting these support areas? Now, as we pull the chart back, you'll see the support areas where we are. Know where you are, as an old great wrestling coach used to say. Right there. Okay, so we're at a major support area. And when was that? That was in April of 2020, April 19th of 2024. Okay, so we're back 1 year later. We're back, and we give up all that profit from that point all the way back to here, okay? So 1 year later, we gave it all up, okay? And that was due to the bad news with the tariffs and all that going on. So that's what's going on with the S&P 500. Now, with the S&P 500 on the weekly chart, you're going to get rid of the noise a little bit, okay? So here we are, okay? We're at the major supporter from last April, which was right there. And then we're right in here. Now, we did get a surge of buying here. Look at this massive volume stick coming out from the bottom. Now, the last time we saw something like that was down here. Let's go back and pull this chart all the way back. Actually, the last time we saw that, it was even higher, the volume. But what happened when we got that massive volume? We got another rally run, right? And that was in March. That was the flash crash of 2020 for the COVID crash. Let's call this right here. That was the COVID crash, okay? So we come back and look at the massive volume here on the weekly chart. Similar situation here. So it was just sort of like that little flash crash, and then we're back. Let's see what happens. Now we got the weekly all the way on the bottom here, okay? Let's go to the monthly chart with the 40,000 foot view, okay? And right there. Now with what I don't like about the pressure to the downside of the markets right now here is, look at this. You got the weekly in a downtrend, okay? So you could get a pop and get a pop and get a pop, and we could be working ourselves all the way down to here, okay? So that could be happening. We have a lot of down pressure still, okay? So it doesn't mean that it could turn around. I mean, you know, it turned around here. Look at here. When was that? That was in October of 2023, and it turned around, okay? Now, the 2022 crash was here. It wasn't a crash. It was a correction for a period of time, maybe 8 months or so. So I'm not saying that. So that did drift back to the 50-day moving average. That could happen here, but we could get good news and we could turn just like we thought we were pulling back here, and then we turned, okay? And then we came back, and then we started coming back up. So we could get that to turn. Let's see what happens. We won't know until we start following it every day, and we'll see the trend. Now on the 2 hour chart, okay, you'll see what's going on here is the volume is dying, okay? So the S&P volume is dying. So you had the short cover. This is short covering, okay, right here. You had a retest with lighter volume right there in the after pre-markets, okay? Then you came back, and then you held the moving average. Now, when you come back Friday, it doesn't look like they're that convinced that anything's going on. So what do they have here? They don't really have much going on, okay? So there's not much volume here going into Friday. Kind of just stagnant in that area, okay? So I wanted to just go over that. It took a little time to go over, but I wanted to go over markets. Let's go over XLF, which is the bank basket. And the bank basket with XLF, you always got to know what's happening with the banks. We had great volume, and let's see if we get retesting here. Now, if we do get this type of thing with the banks, we get the banks to move up, we could be in good shape. Let's see. But if we get the M formation, you know, and it's a wait and see, nobody has the crystal ball, we can get this kind of thing and then start heading down again, and that won't be good. We did have more interest in buying than selling as of now. Remember, this market is as of now. Okay, this is something that we got to get out of the woods, and we're not out of the woods at all here at all. Okay, SMH, we knew it was in trouble because when we started heading down, we didn't like what we saw with the increasing volume of the selling volume. Then we passed the support areas, went back up, and then we failed at the moving average. The downturn of the moving average came up, boom, failed, broke the low, came back here, failed right at the moving average, and then boom, it was a great short. So when you look at the peaks, you got the 1, you got 2, and you got 3, you got 4 peaks here, and that's why you're getting the bounce. Let's also go over to the Qs, which is the NASDAQ. And with the NASDAQ, what's going on here is same situation. We got the cluster, looks just like everything else, pretty much, and we're just waiting to see. Now we do have, it's almost, all the markets look almost exactly the same here, okay? Now the little companies, the Russell 2000, the small caps, this is the heart and soul of the small companies that make up the Russell 2000. Look at this area. Now let's watch the line chart and see. Let's see if we're going to get a W formation here, or if we're going to get an M and then pull back down. Okay, it's the same. It looks exactly, everything looks almost the same right now because it's all following each other. Okay, let's go over to the Dow Jones and the DJI, and we're up 619 points. We closed that. Okay, now the Dow Jones, when you look at the W, you're still slamming into resistance areas here. Same type of situation, okay? So you're still in a downtrend. You're not out of the woods at all here. When you will start getting out of the woods, you'll start to see on the 2-hour chart, you'll start to see trend changing, okay? You'll pull back. Stochastic will pull all the way down to the bottom. It'll hold. It'll break this area, which is the last line. Then it'll go up to the next resistance area. Pull back. The moving average will follow. You'll get some more volume kicking in. This thing will pull back. It'll hold a new low. It'll make a new high. And then you'll go into the resistance at 43,771.40. And then you'll pull back again. Okay? So that's what's going to happen. Markets don't go up straight up ever, as we all know. And with that said, let's go over to some stocks here. So we'll go over to Microsoft. And Microsoft, we have... now, with Microsoft, let me just show you something really quick on the monthly chart because we have to look at the 40,000-foot view here now. So we went into an area with a lot of volume, okay? It tested, okay? So it's the month is not over. We're not even at the middle of the month here in April yet. So... But what I do like about Microsoft, let's see, well, there's two things here that's going on. Okay, so we're all the way down on the monthly chart, okay? We're all the way down on the monthly chart. We pulled back, and the last time we were down here, and we're here. Now, we could go down and test this area again, and the 50-day moving average will catch up at one point, okay? So what I didn't like when I saw when we were down in December and January was we had these two tweezers, and 90% of the time when you get these little tweezers right here, those are you'll see them, you're gonna get a downward trend right after that. So that was a danger zone right there, right after we saw that, and I did not like it, and one of my videos I had mentioned it. Now at 369.22 on the monthly chart, we're holding support. Doesn't mean anything until the month is over. We want to see how this candlestick's going to play out, okay? Now, we do have a support area on the monthly chart at 399.81, almost at the 400 range. Okay, let's go over to the weekly chart on Microsoft. Now, on Microsoft, on the weekly chart, the volume came in good. Now, the only problem is we got some earnings the week of April 28th, so we got to keep that in mind. Hasn't been good the last few times for earnings, okay? So that we're going to continue to keep watching. When we look at the peaks on Microsoft, we have one peak and we have two peaks. That's not good either, okay? We want to see where we're like a fourth peak on a weekly. Then we'll know we're really at a bottom. But we did have these monster buying area right in this spot. So when it moved into that area, it did cover, okay? And it covered with a nice... engulfing there with some monster volume coming in. Now, when we go to the daily chart, because we're breaking it down little at a time here, I want to just show you on Microsoft. Look at Microsoft, how we're slamming into the 50-day moving average. Now, the 50-day moving average is at 392.63, and then we have a major resistance at 395.95, okay? So, let's see what happens as we get into those ranges. On a 2-hour chart, same thing. Now we're going into the area with lighter volume, which is not good, okay? We could move up with lighter volume. It could happen, but the way it looks right now, it doesn't look that great unless we get some news, a catalyst to move it up, okay? We need a catalyst of good news to move this up, okay? It's not going to just happen on its own because why? Because look at the volume dying off. You're going into resistance with lighter volume, okay? So that's not going to be very good right there in that spot. It's gonna pull back. You're going to get a pullback, and that's what I see here. You had cover. Remember this huge volume here? That's covering, okay? Then you had a little buying coming in this spot, but now you're going into the resistance, a sell area right here where the short sellers are, going with lighter volume into that spot. So you have to be careful there. Let's go over to a 4-hour chart because we want to see, again, same exact situation here. You can see the volume a little clearer, how they had the covering, the retest, boom, good news, slammed right into the resistance, they took the profit, okay? Now you have an M formation here going in with much lighter volume into the resistance spot. So That's not good at that point to break out and start trend changing. Okay, let's go over to Apple, because Apple, they have a lot of stuff produced in other countries, right? Like the big one. So, that's a problem for them right now with the tariffs going on and all that. So, with that said, let's go to the line chart. Okay, on a daily chart. Now, we do have nice volume here on Apple, which I like a lot. Is falling a little bit, okay? But we did, and then we have this. So I don't want to see an M formation and we fail again, because then that's just going to be weak, and that's not going to be good. Your broker calls you up and says, oh, wow, you were just up from this point out. Yeah, but I'm down from this point to here, okay? And then your broker says, oh, wow, we recovered good. Where? We have no follow-through here, okay? We have zero follow-through, okay? We have this, and we want to see buying here, but we have overhead pressure at 205.69. Then we have overhead pressure at 219. Okay, so we got to get past all that nitty gritty and then get back into the trend change. Okay, so that's why we're looking at these charts, and we're continuously trying to decipher and dissect what's going on with the volume. Okay, now there's with Apple, we're straight into the resistance area, so I want to see if this is, now we got volume falling off, but we could move up. If we break this area, it'd be nice. We can go over into the 213 range. Okay, so that's something that we want to continue to watch. We want to go to the weekly chart, and we are getting a bounce here, but we want to see how high is this bounce going to be. Okay. Now we're going to get into the 220, 218 range. How are we going to teeth up into this? We do have nice volume, though, okay? And on the weekly chart, we have this is the third peak. So let's see what's going to happen if we're going to get follow-through. Earnings on Apple is April 28th. So that's something that write down in your calendar and write it down. There was an old Purina Calendar Cat commercial that was great years ago in the 70s, and that reminds me of the Calendar Cat. Okay, so anyway, back to Amazon here. We go to Amazon and we go to a weekly chart here. Okay, so on a weekly chart, right here we're slammed at 164.63 at a major buy area. These are major support levels here. Now you're breaking trend here. Okay, remember, you never broke trend here from down in this area, which was end of March of 2023. You pulled back to the moving average. You pulled back. We had a buy signal right there, and we're hoping we're going to get another buy signal here. Okay, but we have no follow through yet. Okay, and we could get a follow through for another failure. Okay, that again, same situation as Microsoft here, coming up into resistance areas with lighter volume. Okay, so that doesn't look great right now. Okay, but we have to get trend change. That's what we're looking for, a trend change, or even just a bounce back to 204 or the 196 range. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Right now it's 184.87. Let's look at the 40,000 foot view on Amazon, and we have a capitulation here with down pressure on Amazon on the monthly chart. We have downward pressure. The only thing I don't like about this market right now is we have the monthly charts with heavy downward pressure. Okay, we do have major support levels though here right in this spot. If we break this area, we could be in trouble and being down in here. Okay, that's what we're a little worried about here. Okay, because if we bust below the 50-day moving average on the monthly chart, the next level down for Amazon will be major area will be in the 144 range. Okay, and then we have a major support level at the 124 range. We don't want to see that happen. Okay, we don't want to see that happen because that'll be in the crash territory. Okay, as far as weekly, again, we want to see if we're gonna bounce back, but want to see if we're gonna be able to hold. Okay, remember the earnings date for Amazon, April 24th. We got all these earnings coming in. Hopefully, we get some good news. And we start to get some good earnings. If we get bad earnings, we're going to be in trouble here. Okay? So, because we're not in a good situation right now. Okay? Meta Facebook. Okay. Now Meta, when you go to daily chart here, and you look at the peaks, you got one. I don't know if we're going to call this a peak. Well, let's say 2, and then 3, and then if we come back down to it, we'll have the 4th. So that could be a very oversold situation. Meta on the weekly chart, because we want to look at the bigger view, is not in good situation. Now, when I was telling you before about that we had a head and shoulders pattern here, which wasn't looking good, on the weekly chart on Meta, and I had said that. I was telling my brother about it. I said I don't like the way this looks because we have a bearish head and shoulders pattern on the weekly chart, and then sure enough, what happened? I didn't like that. Okay, Nvidia was same thing. We had problems with Nvidia, but Nvidia recovered a little bit here. But we had a very similar situation when we had this area up in here with this big seller right in this spot, and then when it broke trend, we had trouble. Okay, in that spot. Let's go back to Meta. Now with Meta, we're gonna wrap up this video in about 5 to 7 minutes. Let's go over to the monthly chart on Meta, and this is something that again I don't like. Okay, so this is the problem here with when you're dealing with these monthly charts. When you see on a monthly chart and you see this downward pressure, okay, you got to be very careful with this downward pressure, okay, and you have a solid amount of selling volume, not as much obviously as in this area here, not even close, which is a good sign though, okay, because you have good volume in this area right here, and right now you're at a major support level. Okay, where was that major support level on? Was in the 496 to 500 range. Okay, and then we bounced a little bit. Now we're 543. This moves pretty quick actually. So that's something that you have to look at with Meta as it's downtrending here. Now with Meta, we have peaks here that are looking pretty good. So we had, let's say 1. We want to call this 2. We had 3 and we had 4. So that's pretty good. We want to start seeing the higher lows here. Okay. Overhead pressure, we fail. We get another 50 day overhead pressure, but we want to see it hold when it pulls back. That's what I want to see on Meta. Meta, when it starts going into this area here, let's see what's going to happen here. Now we have a mixed bag of sellers here. We don't really have a lot of buyers. We had the covering, but we don't have a lot of buyers right now on Meta. Okay. So what we want to do is want to see it hold, want to see it go up into this area here, and then if it fails, it goes sideways. It won't be bad if it holds, but we want to see it break above this and go to 628.99 or 629. Okay, that's what we're looking for with Meta. Okay, Shake Shack. Let's go over to Shake Shack. That's another one we've been looking at for a while here. And with Shake Shack, okay, let's just go over the weekly chart, weekly first. And with Shake Shack, we knew we were in a big downtrend, okay, but we got into this support area, right into this spot where December 26th was, okay, in 2023, okay. So we gave up all these profits, okay, in that 140 range, okay, at the end of December, and we're hanging in there, but we got to be careful here. Now we're still in this downtrend on Shake Shack here. Okay, we got 1, we got 2, we got 3, we got 4. Where it's getting exhausted. The selling's getting a little exhausted on Shake Shack. Okay, we have earnings on Shake Shack on May 1st. Okay, so that's something that we're gonna have to continue to keep watching. Uber. It's another one we were watching and kind of held in there because we were at like $60 at one point. Okay, so with Uber, let's look at a 2-hour chart. Okay, and it wasn't so bad. I mean, the buying did like level off, but we were sideways consolidation here now. So what I'm looking for here on Uber, sideways, want to get the breakout. Okay, now if it goes sideways and it breaks down, we're going to be heading back down and testing the bottom again. But we want to see a sideways and then the breakout. Okay, that's what we want to see. Okay, So that's what's going on with Uber. Costco, let's go over to the big dog. Costco. On Costco, holding its own, okay? Not, of course, not at the high, not that level, but let's go over the weekly chart. Now, with Costco, obviously, they do well, too, in bad markets, too, but we have a crossover in the weekly chart here with massive amount of volume. Now, what I do like about Costco is we have a W formation, we have a retest W formation on the weekly chart with increasing volume, okay? So, and we start to get some relative strength on this. We could start getting this bad boy to come back up, okay? Up into that range. So that's what we're looking for on Costco. Costco here looking pretty good, holding with the right side of W with engulfing with massive volume. Now that looks good, okay? I just want to let everybody know on that one. Now it could fail. I'm not saying that it's, everything's perfect here. We get a little bad news or something like that. But we want to get the side, here it is. We want to get the sideways consolidation on Costco, and we want to get the breakout. And then we could be going to 1022, okay? So that's what we want on Costco. That's what we want to see, okay? Let's see if this market has any energy, okay? Because right now everything's in the red, okay? Let's go over to gold, the gold market. And now it's not a surprise. Now, I was talking to a broker when gold was 1,600, and we were talking about gold-backed IRA and all that stuff, and she said I was absolutely out of my mind. And I don't think I'm out of my mind anymore, right? With gold at 32.36, right? So at that point, I think I was more right than she was, okay? So look at gold holding strong because the inflationary situation, gold going through the roof, and a lot of people, were anticipating that. Silver, now silver, is not as strong, but it's still hanging in there. Okay, the silver market. Okay, let's go over to the dollar and the U.S. dollar falling apart there. Okay, let's look at that. Now we have trading within the box on the U.S. dollar here. Look at this. Okay, let's get rid of that and draw a better line. Okay. We go right there, and we were right there, and what do we have? We're trading within a zone. We're trading within the box here. We're coming down to support, so should get a bounce here on the dollar. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to uptrend or anything. I'm just saying we're going to get a bounce. TLT, which is the 20-year Treasury. Okay, and there's the selling coming in. Okay, this week, but this thing is all over the place. Let's go over to the daily chart, and we had a pullback on the 20-year. Now look at the volume. Look at this. As you pull your chart, you keep pulling your chart back. Look at the massive amount of volume on the 20-year Treasury bond. Look at this massive amount of volume, okay? You have a lot of action going on in this area, okay? So let's see. Right now we're heading to support, so you could get a bounce on the bonds on the 20-year, okay? What else are we going to go over here? One last thing. Let's just look at Tesla really quick on Tesla. And now with Tesla, you got a lot of... Watch this for a second. So it got discounted and it got destroyed, right? And this has happened before, right? We had it back here. So when we were back here in 2021, what happened? We went up into the resistance area. We got all those shares that were short. Boom! It reached up and it grabbed them all. Okay, not all of them, but I mean a lot of them. Okay, so what do we have going on here, though? We have a little bit of a W formation, but we have the right side, which is lower. Okay, so that means we could get up into this area and then pull back again. Okay, so because that doesn't look strong that way. Okay, now with Tesla. Okay. Let's go to the daily chart now. With the daily chart, okay, the volume's looking good. Okay, look at the volume increasing. We got this. Let's see if we can get a W and then get up into this range here. That's something that 287 range. Let's see if that's going to happen. Okay, so that's something that with a lot of people were asking about Tesla. They were saying, what's going to happen with Tesla? Do you think, it's a good buy at this point. It was, well, what happened was here was you got the monthly pulling all the way to the bottom. At one point, this is going to be, there's a lot of good prices in here. You got 228, you got 240s. If it goes down and it goes into the 200 range, that's another good buy in that spot. So, with Tesla, let's go over the 2-hour chart here, and you had a little bit of buying coming in here, okay? But, again, let's see if it tests the top at the 270 range. Right now, 250.31. Let's see if they're going to go after that 270. And then after that, we'll see what happens if we can move it past that point. But that's, with markets, that's where they go. A lot of times they move back to where they sold off. And, a lot of times they'll go after those big volume sticks. But then you have to see what's going to happen once it does get to that spot. So that's something that we're going to have to watch. Okay, so with that said, I said enough today. I want to go over everything. We're not out of the woods by any means. We could still be in a downtrending market with a bounce. We could get a small little rally, but then we're going to watch those moving averages as they're pushing down. It doesn't mean that we're going to have a trend change. Until we get that trend change, then we'll know we're off to the races, okay? With that said, I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank everybody for watching. I hope this helps everybody, and have a wonderful week next week.